Welcome back to Chapter 8. We're going to have a look at the actual in-class exercise here. Now that we've got an idea of how this character and string manipulation works, let's do an example here. Now, this is a fairly practical one. This is called a password validation, and a lot of you have seen these as you've used the internet or your computer, is that we have to set passwords to authenticate to a particular site or a domain. So usually those sites have rules, and in this example we've got rules. The character must be 8 characters long, it must be at least one uppercase character, one lowercase, one numeric digit case. Now, knowing what we just talked about in the previous videos is that we can apply that knowledge now into a practical example of looking for a password. So in this example here I could type in a password like password. That's got whatever, eight characters, so that'll work, and then it's got one uppercase character. Now it needs a numeric digit, so I'll put 1 there, and when I click on check, it says the password is valid for authentication. That's perfect. Now if I took out the number 1 and I click check, it say the password does not meet the requirements, and when I highlight, it should tell me in this list here how many I've got. Now I think what happened was I didn't clean out the old box here, so let me just recompile and do that one more time. So let's run it. We'll just type in the word password. So password does not conform to the rules. And it says here the password does not meet the requirements. So it's not going to output that. Now if I type in, let's say a different symbol, it still doesn't meet the requirements. If I put the number 1 just randomly right there, it should meet the requirements, and it does. And when I click on OK, it comes back and says your character is 9 long. It's got 3 uppercase characters. Got 21. I don't know how. 21. I must not have reset these variables. And it's also got at least one numeric digit in it as well. So what it's doing is checking to see if these rules are correct, and if it is correct, it's displaying the outputted message. All right. Now the program itself here, let's open this up. What I wanted to do to start with is, this is the body. Well, this is actually this is another button right here called let's just check the button character by character. And so what this is going to do is it's to illustrate actually how strings are basically arrays, and how it works is if someone types in their password, we put it into a string, we can then take that string apart and put it back into another button. So what I did here is when you type in a password, and so if I type in, let's say password 1, for example, I click on check that, the password is invalid. Okay, because I got to click this button here. Sorry, it's this button. And basically all I'm doing is I'm pulling this password apart and I'm outputting character by character. So if you look at this right here, what I've done is I've taken the word password 1, assigned it to the name, and then I took the first index and converted it to a string. So I took the P, added it to the A, added to the S, and the W-O-R-D, and then the number 1, and I outputted it back into the button itself. So when we run it, and I click on this button, it basically takes this string and rebuilds it character by character, and it kind of looks like it's an array, because that looks like an array, kind of proving the point that a string is a reference type in this example. If I wanted to and try, and this will not work, but let's say I wanted to go in here and try and modify whatever the user had typed in by saying, let's take that first index right here and force it into T. So instead of password, it'd be tassword, I guess. And it can't do that because remember, when you create a string, it's read-only. Even though it's set up in an array, we cannot assign the characters back to the individual elements. They're read-only. So I want to make that point there.